Welcome back to the FTE Capital Markets, Edition 3. I'm Julie Meyer. I've always made money by going early or being early in a venture and trusting my instinct and developing my instinct over the years. So when I went to INSEAD to get my MBA in 1997, and I met Renee Maubourne and Chan Kim of Blue Ocean Strategy, my strategy professors who'd created the Blue Ocean Institute at INSEAD, which became globally renowned. It just made sense to me. Go to the blue oceans where there aren't people and companies and activity. Go and design something. Trust your instinct to figure out how to create the new system. When I was a child, I was obsessed with building houses. I used to write blueprints and design houses, and I did this for years. My parents were so convinced that I was going to become an architect, and I think like an architect. I like to create the system, and then I like to convene people in. That's what I do. I build things, I build systems, and I invite people or convene people to the system. Well, property, pretty quickly you come to property rights. And if we think about how the world has thought about property rights over the past hundreds of years and even longer, probably the first person that has really thought about property rights and their relationship to wealth creation and ownership is Karl Marx. And we all saw where that went, right? He wanted to strip out property rights so that somehow wealth could be distributed, so that wealth could be more commonly shared. But it was a stick. It was a move which didn't lead to the creation of more wealth, but to a lot of turbulence and a lot of anger. And hundreds of years later, there was another thinker, another academic, but who's become incredibly well-known worldwide for his thinking, Hernando de Soto, a Peruvian economist who, from the Institute of Liberty and Democracy in Lima, Peru, but globally acclaimed and referenced by some of the most important economists in the world, came to a completely different conclusion than Karl Marx. He also understood the relationship between property and property rights and wealth development, ownership, and accumulated capital, but took it towards economic development. How do we use property and property rights to drive economic development? And he realized that if you put property rights at the core of economic development, that gives you the greatest chance for the broadest distribution of wealth in society. So if you own the farm or you own a piece of the farm, fundamentally you think of the farm in a different way than if you just work there. So now if we kind of update ourselves to where we are in 2024 and we look at what's happening in the world, the European Communion and Commission have just recently fined Apple 1.8 billion euros for violating streaming rights. And this follows a whole history of the EU fining the digital native platforms giants, which are worth hundreds of billions, I think trillions at this point, market capitalizations, for their confiscation of the value from data, right? And it's part of the same action-reaction, tit for tat, you do this, we fine you, we're upset and so forth. It's a stick. It's not a carrot. It's not helping people build their personal economies by fining Apple. Fundamentally, Apple can pay a fine of 10 times 1.8 billion and probably not lose too much sleep. The mother of GDPR in Europe happens to live in Kiev, Greece. Viviane Reding was the digital commissioner 15 years ago and has been acknowledged broadly as being the mother of GDPR. And GDPR was going in the right direction to recognize the value of people's data as a property right. But it doesn't explicitly say that. And again, it's part of this Karl Marx move or the stick to fine people for using something that belongs to somebody else. But it doesn't fundamentally establish property rights in the EU for data. Now, the problem with that is unless my property rights are legally assigned and established as belonging to me, I can't build on top of it. I can't build my personal economy or wealth for myself, my family, and my unit, whether that's my community or myself, unless I own the data and it's established as a property right. So it's not enough for me to just say, my data belongs to Julie Meyer and go talk to the hospital or the bank or the retail or whomever and say, you're using my data, you owe me some money. It doesn't work like that. We're talking about very large groups of wealth creators who've confiscated the data of ourselves over now 20 plus years. So there's a judo move to establish property rights at the core of society, the data established as property rights, and we intend to do that through Kia Valley. Kia Valley is a property play. It's a property development corporation and play, and we're establishing villas that you can design, boutique hotels that you can stay at. It's 250,000 square meters in Kia, Greece, right close by to the airport off on the first island. Kia Valley is a community that you can participate in the upside, where your data is established as a property right of yourself. It's a completely different clean sheet of paper. It's a blue ocean. It's an opportunity for you to enter the building of a new community with a completely different concept. That makes sense to me. I've always entered the blue ocean through the marina on the back of the island somebody had forgotten, neglected, or avoided. It's better to go in remotely or covertly into the big ocean and create your own waves. We're going to create a lot of waves with Kia Valley. This is going to be, in some ways, a very standard. People will live there, people will buy there, people will have dinner there, people will travel there by seaplanes and cars. But in the other way, it's going to be a radical departure from the way that the world works today, because you will own your own data and it will be established as a property right for you as the individual. So if that intrigues you, or if you're skeptical, if you want to be part of one of the working groups on property rights or marine life or health or conservation or money and next generation or networks across the Greek Cyclades Islands, we've got a number of different work groups and work streams and campaigns in the Kia Valley project. So please come on down to visit Kia Valley to be a part of our conference, Kia Naissance, in 2 months' time, starting on the evening of Thursday, the 9th of May. Get to know the other builders of Kia Valley, check out the blueprints, sign up to do one of the blueprints in a different work stream, and think about what it would mean to you to have property rights established for your data and to be part of a community where that was being brought to life. It won't be perfect. We need builders to help us perfect the system. We've designed the architecture of the way that the assets should work. This is a Hernando de Soto move, and we want other Hernando de Sotos to come with us and build. We're not looking for the Karl Marx. We're looking for the people who fundamentally believe in the blue ocean, in the clean sheet of paper, who don't want to strip out 500,000 people in Mykonos in August, or who don't want to strip out and redistribute wealth away from the wealthy people. We're not looking for the angry folks who are upset with the way that the world works. We're looking for the radically and psychotically optimistic folks who can look at a new landscape, a new horizon, a new piece of land, and to say, let's build it this way. This brings us to the end of the 3rd edition of the FT Capital Markets. Thank you for tuning in, for sharing this, for thinking about what we're talking about on the FT Capital Markets. Get in touch, come to Kia Naissance, and I'll see you next week.